Hi, this is Lynda, Icky Chic Designs. What you're looking at is a piece of fiber art that I created several years ago. And, excuse me, put my thumb in front of the camera. I haven't taught this in quite a while, but I've had people that have messaged me and asked me if there's any way that I would demonstrate this technique that I have. And so that's what I'm going to present to you to see if there's enough interest for me to make this, because it will be an extended playlist of videos from start to finish to complete an art project like this. Let me tell you up front that there is no sewing at all on this project. This is done with heat activated fusible bond that's put on the back of your fabric. And then when your fabric is cut out in shapes and you put it on a background fabric and iron it on, it adheres and it's permanent if it's taken care of. Let's go up and get a little bit closer view of what I'm talking about here. In this piece, I chose a focal point of 4 leaves, and I built from there. I simulated some twigs and some other leaves, and then I started cutting shapes and placing them in, leaving a little of the black background fabric in between each so that it would look like a mosaic, like the black background fabric was the grout and the other pieces were the glass. And so it's all done with fabric. If you can iron adhesive on the back of fabric, if you can cut out little shapes, and if you can iron them again onto a piece of background fabric, you can create this art. It's not hard, but it is time consuming. And if you start the project, you need a place where this project can stay all the time, because it's something that you will want to do 30 minutes, an hour at a time. And very seldom will you want to sit down and work all day, because it's tedious. And but you work a little bit at it as you have time throughout the day. And pretty soon you have a finished product. Now, this piece probably took me 2 months to complete, and I did not work on it all day, every day. I worked on it in probably 20, 30, 40-minute spurts. And, but it does take time. The other thing that it takes is a lot of different fabrics. But saying that, you don't need much of any one fabric. For instance, we're working here primarily in tones, in light, mediums, and darks. Usually about 6 tones, very light to light, medium to medium, dark and very dark. You get my point. We're graduating in tones of color. That's what allows us to make a piece that looks like it has light coming through it and it's shadowed in other areas. The focal point is completely something that, if I do this, I will let you choose. If you want a flower, you want an object, whatever it is you want as a focal point. The focal point being leaves in this particular one. And I love the colors in those leaves, and I played with those colors in the background. So whatever focal point that you decide on, if you decide to do this project, then you will probably need to purchase fabric in color tones. And these will have to be solids or batiks, something that does not have a definite pattern. As you can see, these pieces, there's very little pattern in these pieces, okay? Most of them are solids or play like solids when they're put with other things, okay? And so when I would purchase for a new art piece, I would go to the quilt store or wherever, Hobby Lobby and a quilt store, and look for solid colors. For instance, yellow in 3 different shades. In this, orange in a couple different shades, browns, burnt umbers, golds, purples, and several different shades. Or I would look for batiks that would have all the colorization in them, because those are my absolute favorites, the batiks, because they have so many color options that you can use. And even though they might cost a little bit more to start with, they save you money overall, and they do the job. Because in those pieces, the colors graduate. So when you need to cut a piece that has both dark and light in it, you can find that in a batik, okay? So a quilt shop or online would probably be the best place to search for that. You could get, if you're in a quilt store, you could get 1/4 of a yard of each of the selections you choose. And depending on what size project you're going to try to make. And to do one of these projects, you do have to go pretty good sized to make it doable. Otherwise, you could see that you couldn't cut pieces tiny enough if you go little. And so this piece is probably, I think it's like a 16 by 20, the actual art piece. It's framed, as you can tell, in a gallery type framing for my home. But you would need to collect these and get these fabrics backed with a fusible web. Now I use Wonder Under medium weight, but you can choose which one you would want to use. And you use that by the manufacturer's instructions. And you back all these fabrics that you are going to use in your project. And then when you get ready, everything is got the fusible web on the back, and you just cut. You will need a tacking iron, and I will make a video with a little more detailed instructions on some of this if there is enough interest overall on creating a series of videos for this, because this is a major project for me. If I get into it and do a project and to show step by step what I'm doing, I want there to be enough interest for me to dedicate that much time to a series of videos. Again, it is not hard. There is no sewing. If you can use a little tacking iron and a big iron, and if you can get the fabric selections you need, and you can cut out shapes with scissors, that's all you need to do, okay? And everything else is doable. Now, when we do the project, you won't be doing the exact thing that I am doing, because whatever I choose for a motif won't be the same as you. And but the technique and what I'm doing as I'm doing it, how I'm cutting shapes, how I'm playing with light and shadow, how I simulate those things will be in the videos. And that allows you to use your selection of fabrics and do what you want to do with the focal points that you picked out. So really what I need to know in the comments is if this interests you at all. And if I did this, I would probably start it in the 1st of May. Maybe sometime the end of April, but the 1st of May. I want to clear my other projects. I too have to get some additional fabric, because you do have to buy fabric for this project. Usually you do not have enough of the right scraps for this, because this is art. You start with an art mentality, and this is not a scrappy project, okay? This is something that you plan for color and focal point. So you have to take that into account. Again, you need a lot of different fabrics but very little of each. If you were to look at the greens in this, you would see that I have a lot of different greens, but I'm not using the same green all the time. And so really overall, there's not much of any one particular fabric in there, okay? You can pick a fabric. For instance, you see these big yellow balls right there, or the leaf right there. You can pick fabrics that do have an element in it that you think you would like to cut out and use, whether it be a leaf, little flowers, twigs, whatever. You can do that and use them throughout your piece like you see that I've done here. You would probably want to dedicate realistically 2 to 3 months to finish a project like this. But like I said, it's not something that you do all day, every day. It doesn't take up all your time. In fact, I always tell people, take breaks from it. You know, do your sessions, maybe one in the morning, one in the afternoon, sit down, and then go do something else. If you get a real urge to go work on it, well then, you know, do that. But otherwise, give yourself a break so you keep your perspective clear and see what you want to do with this situation here. I wouldn't have a clue what my focal point's going to be because I haven't decided what I want to play with. I do tend to favor florals, and so, you know, it will probably be something in that range. I don't know. This particular mosaic lends, you know, it lends to florals real well. This style of doing it. So anyway, that you can choose for yourself. But if you get too particular with something like a very detailed landscape or something like that, that's going to get more difficult to simulate what you want to do with the mosaic style. So staying more open, not, for instance, I've got four leaves here. I don't, and they were already that way. I mean, I didn't create those leaves. I cut them out of fabric, and I can't remember what fabric it was at the time. It was I can't remember who the designer was or manufacturer was, but it was just leaves that I love the look of, and I wanted to do something with it. And so that's what you'd be looking for. And then once you get your focal point, then you know what kind of colorization, batiks, and other fabrics you might want to get to play with inside the rest of it and around it to accentuate it. And you will need a large piece of black fabric for the background. It can just be broadcloth, just a piece of black fabric. As you can see, it only serves a purpose as the grouting, but you want it to be substantial enough that it can hold all this stuff on top of it and be ironed multiple times. So just a good, not a real thin or cheap cut of black fabric, but a good cut of black fabric. Cotton, that's the other thing. You always want to use cotton. Quilting cotton quality is the best that I've found. You don't use any other type of fabric because it doesn't adhere correctly. And so use quilting cottons and stay with those. Quilting quality cottons are just perfect for this. They do exactly what I want them to do. If you get a cheaper cotton that's frays too easy, thin, it just doesn't do well. You get other fabrics, they don't do well. Stay with the quilting cottons. Okay, well, this was just an introductory video to a project that I will do if there's enough interest. If there's not, for instance, this is, early in March, I'll give this video a month to run and see if in the comments how many people I get that might be interested. And if there are 50 or more, then I will definitely do this starting in the 1st of May for sure. Okay, and so that will give you time, and I will let you know at the end of March if I'm going to do it, or at the end of the month, so middle of April, 1st of April. Anyway, I'll have a good indication by the end of March if I'm going to have enough people to make this worth my while to make this series. So, and again, realize there's no sewing. You will have to purchase some fabric and a little tacking iron and fusible web. You will have to purchase some items for this project, okay? All right, well, let me hear from you then. And meantime, let's still stay very scrap happy.